He's a good pitcher, revolving pitcher, and a high fly ball, a deep right center. The Phillies have the lead, and Kyle Schwarber has a season for leadoff home runs. He now has 14.
Wow.
1-0 Phillies.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was Tom McCarthy just a few minutes ago as Kyle Schwarber leads off the game once again with a home run, putting him in the Major League all-time lead for leadoff home runs in one season. Welcome in. This is the DelValley Sports Pod, episode number 48. We have a little bit of Phillies to talk, and then the most important business to talk about is the recap of the Week 1 win down in Brazil. Dan, hello, sir.
Woo! A lot to be excited about, a lot to talk about. It's pumped about Eagles, and then you play that clip. Tom McCarthy, don't act like you're surprised, dude. What are we doing here? Don't act like you're surprised. Although I want some clarification. You just said the stat. I couldn't really hear it too well in the audio you just played. He's an all-time single season. What's the record exactly?
All-time leader for leadoff home runs in a single season. Like who's leading off the game. Yes.
Who did he pass? Who he was tied
Alfonso Soriano, who had 13.
Alfonso Soriano. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
That is crazy because there's still some time left here.
Yeah. I think we talked about it last week how he was at 13 and wouldn't be shocked if he goes for 14, and it just happened to be about a half hour ago. So the Phillies game is being played right now. They are at home against the Tampa Bay Rays after squeaking one out last night. Let's talk about the game last night real quick. Bryce Harper pimped a home run in the bottom of the ninth and only got to first base when it should have been an easy second. Right after Johan Rojas nearly robbed a home run to clinch the game. Did you see that too?
What do you think of Rojas's reaction? He acted like he just dropped a routine ball, didn't he?
Well,
he sat at the wall with his head down for like a minute.
I understand his reaction. He had it in his glove, and it was a play not many people would make, but he usually does. And he didn't seem to approach it very well. He was kind of, weird-footed, jumped up, kind of had it backhand, and his arm hit the wall and just knocked the ball out from underneath him. And not many players are making that play. But he could, and I can see why he was mad about it.
I don't know. Yeah, I just watched that. And I was like, is he mad? Is he disappointed? Because that would have been the greatest catch of his entire career. I couldn't, does he feel guilty that he didn't catch it because now it's a tie game and the pitcher blew the save? I don't know. And then just like a week ago, obviously, you see Michael Harris in that same field make an even more insane a catch than that attempt was, where he's basically 3/4 of the way beyond the fence to make the catch. So, maybe he saw that and that's like, he wants to be making those same kind of plays. I don't know, but it was just funny to me that he sat there and mourned that not being a catch for a minute. It would have been the greatest catch of the year.
I can't think of one that would top it. He's had some good ones, as have the other outfielders, but that would have been the catch of the year thus far. And I think the moment is why he was so distraught about it. You rob a home run there. You're up 1-0. You drop it. Now it's tied 1-1. You blow Estevez' save, and you're not looking good. I think there was only one out at that time. You could have had two, and had the game over very, very quickly. So that leads into the ninth inning, where Bryce Harper hits a line drive to right center field and pimps it like he's hitting a home run. Hits the top of the wall, and he doesn't start running until he gets halfway to first base, only makes it to first. The guy on second base, when he got the ball, is like, where's Harper? Why is Harper not here? So after witnessing
a little bit too.
After just witnessing that whole thing transpire in the outfield, Bryce Harper hits a ball and doesn't hustle it out. If he's on second base, a single ends the game. At that point, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to screw them. They're going to go into extras and probably lose. Now, it didn't, thanks to a massive walk by who? Buddy Kennedy, who's played a grand total of 5 games in the major leagues this year, and the 3 of them have been the last 3 days with the Phillies. Bryson Stott hustled out a huge ball to shortstop to get Harper to third, and then Cody Clemens, man, he's been coming up really clutch in some of these He has like 3 walk-off hits this year.
We kind of said it at the beginning of the year that he was going to be our Greg Dobbs of the year, and then he got hurt and disappeared for like 3 months. And he's come back like a phoenix from the ashes. And it's not just the hits, right? It's the whole at-bat. His at-bats have been unreal. So patient, really good eye, and also just he's kind of giving you those like Bryce Stott 2023 at-bats, right? Where he can just foul off any pitch.
Yep.
And that's got to be so frustrating as a pitcher. He's been very good. Very good. And he's got that position versatility a little bit out there. He's been a good fielder too.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see him. We finally have a bona fide pinch hitter if we need one going into the playoffs, which is all, as it's shown in the past, is always useful. So good win when it didn't look like there was going to be one by the Phils last night.
But bringing it back real quick to the other guy, Buddy Kennedy, what's your favorite color? It's an elf reference. So this is another guy that's from like the Philly area, grew up a Phillies fan, right?
South Jersey guy, I believe.
I heard some kind of interview question.
Millville, New Jersey, 25 years old. They acquired him from Detroit earlier this year. And hadn't played since April prior to Friday.
I heard some kind of interview question because, of course, they interviewed him after the game that was along the lines of, you've been in this stadium before and you know what it's like to see the Phillies get a big hit or a walk-off or whatever. How does this compare to be on the actual field? And it just like sounded like a Phillies fan when he answered. It was really funny with a little bit of a Philly accent there going on. And it just made me think, I know it's just 2 guys, unless there's more I'm not thinking of, but can you ever remember any Philly sports team where it's like 2 dudes on the same team are just literally homegrown? Like, I guess what I'm getting at here is there any part of this because these are not big names. These are not guys who are going to be on the playoff roster or anything like that, especially this moment right now. I'm sure that they're giving Kennedy a chance to, see what it's like in the big leagues and see what he's like. But more than anything, he's probably going to just be up for a week or a couple weeks and then go back down. Is there any thoughtfulness to this whole like Phillips thing and Kennedy thing in terms of, hey, wouldn't it be kind of cool to have these guys that grew up as Philly fans get some moments? Or I don't know if I'm saying they acquired them because they're from the area, but I don't know. It's just unique. It seems extremely unique. I don't remember this usually being a thing.
It's funny that you bring that up because that same thing actually happened last year. And I remember it being a big topic of discussion because Olamide Zaccheaus and DeAndre Swift both went to St. Joe's Prep.
Oh, yeah. You know what? You're right. I forgot about that.
But to your point, I can't really remember, that ever being a big topic or something that was noticeable to the point of it being spoken on. In that, we have 2 hometown guys playing for the hometown team. How does it feel? It usually doesn't happen. And, these are probably outliers, or maybe it happens more often than we think. It just doesn't get noticed because the players aren't of any note. But I definitely feel like, the fact that we're so locked in on Philadelphia, this may happen elsewhere. But
yeah,
at least in our teams, I can't remember it being a thing. I mean, in basketball and hockey, it definitely doesn't happen that much.
Yeah. The idea of it being a thought, just like the idea that it could be a thought in the owner GM's minds, that it would be a reason they'd either acquire someone or just like get him up to the big leagues for a week or so. It's like so romantic, it's just, I obviously like, it's probably not, it's wishful thinking more than anything, but it's cool. It's cool.
Well, Tyler Phillips was just a good prospect who was down in AAA. They wanted to see what he had. We saw how that went. Good at first, not so good after. The the Buddy thing here, honestly, I wouldn't put it past Dombrowski being like, bring him up from AAA. He's a local guy. Let's see what he has. Let's see if the fans respond. So I could see him doing that because he's not going to be a long-term piece. It's just seeing what they have down in the minors. So either way, it's pretty cool. We'll see what happens really with old Buddy Kennedy.
Old Buddy Kennedy. Cool stuff. Just cool stuff.
Absolutely. So we will always keep an eye on the Phillies, but it's football season. It feels weird because they played on Friday. It feels like the game was so long ago.
Yeah, it does feel so long ago. Probably just because all the other games happened after that Friday. Weird. I was at work, so like I didn't get like the full there's a football game on Friday experience because I was kind of buzzing around trying to keep an eye on it and all that. But what was it like? Just like going through your Friday and then watching the birds in the evening? Was that cool or was it like
It was cool. I mean, I went out with some friends back where I used to live over in Bridgeport, went out to the Tap House 23, shout out, the big room over there. I mean, it was packed to the gills. People everywhere. Birds hype was thick and thin everywhere around here. And it was cool. It just it felt weird because, it wasn't the Thursday night game. You just had that. There's no other games being played around it. Obviously, it's not Saturday. It was unique. The only thing that I didn't like was being out with so many people that you couldn't really hear the game. So I'm glad that I went back and watched it because you got a little bit from the crowd and the PA announcer yelling in Portuguese. I'm like, what is this language? and then obviously they're playing all the fight song and
they're
bells.
Playing the fight song, yeah.
The fact that they played the bells, I was like, okay, they're trying to make it a home game. And they honestly had the field painted, so it was cool. But
the hotel thing too. I don't think did we talk about that?
No, we didn't.
Someone else tell me about that. Was that another effort to make it a home game, quote unquote?
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, the Eagles stayed within pretty close proximity to the stadium, and the Packers had to drive like 2.5 hours on the bus to get there, which I don't know that it played any difference, but it was certainly something to note.
Jordan Love was staying the night in Heartbreak Hotel after that loss, huh?
He was standing in Knee Break Hotel for a little while.
Yeah, he was actually probably just in the hospital, actually. But
no, I heard he had to fly back on the plane, which sucks. You imagine like dislocating your knee? I thought they said
that's really bad for you.
Yes.
I thought that's why injured people. I guess he can't stay in Brazil for like. I mean, they don't want him to leave the hotels. Literally live there for.
Well, no. The thing is, they can't send one plane to fly one player from Brazil. If he was out in like Chicago or something, he could take his own flight the next day. But yeah, being up a boat, he still would be down there.
Get that guy. Who's the Phillies pitcher this year that they got? Was it Ruiz? That was.
Oh man, I
remember they drove him from like New York or something.
It was like Buffalo or something.
We gotta go. Get that guy on the job. I trust that guy for sure. Get that guy a boat and see what he can do, brother.
He got him. I can't remember the guy's name, but that was hilarious. Yeah, he drove 6 hours from Buffalo to get him in, and he puts his jersey on in the parking lot, like introducing himself. What a wild thing. That was back in like May too.
He does that move with the car door to pee outside in the parking lot. So he's ready once he gets into the game. You position yourself there at the car door. Yeah, electric stuff. Get that guy on the job.
I forgot about that. I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, 29, they win 34-29. A lot of sloppiness, a lot of penalties. I don't know where you want to begin. We don't really have a script here. So if you want to start with your overall takeaways, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, maybe we can start with a little bit of overall takeaways, and then we can slide into some offense and defense, respectively. Overall takeaway. You win week one. Everyone is sloppy week one these days. I guess I'd have to go back and see what it looked like before the whole preseason truly changed and the starters like really don't play anymore. But dude, like I felt like so many of the teams looked really sloppy. You got new offensive coordinator, new coordinators across the board. You have some new players. The offensive line, just by Jason Kelce not being there by default, is significantly different. Everything's so different. So And I don't necessarily think I'm not a big like the starters should play in the preseason guy, but just find a way to win despite the sloppiness, I guess, if you're not going to play them. And I don't know that like playing in the preseason is going to make week one not sloppy because it's a whole different beast anyways. But the takeaway is that they got the win. There were some really bad moments and bad things, but I thought almost all of them were extremely correctable, which is awesome, right? Because there's bad moments and bad players last year, especially where we were like, I don't know how they could possibly correct this between the coordinator and between the personnel they had. I feel like almost everything is completely correctable, which makes they got to win. And I'm super optimistic that they can clean things up.
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of good things, and the sloppiness that took place is the fact that nobody plays in the preseason. They're dealing with the new offensive coordinator, and I mean the field was a whole bit. We can talk about that. I think Jalen did not have his best game. There were a lot of questionable decisions that he made. Both of his interceptions. One you could discount because of the field conditions, but I feel a lot better about the defense than I did going into week one. No?
Discounting the second one?
Yeah, because
I completely disagree.
A.J. Brown slipped. I mean, when Hurts let go of that ball, A.J. Brown completely slipped in the end zone and had no shot of catching it.
Yeah, but that safety was coming back anyways, and we're going to get into this. We were at that point, I believe, up 5, correct? What were we up by at the point of that interception? We were up by, because that was very important. I remember the field goal was significant. Us getting a field goal there was very crucial. What was the score at that point in time?
It was 31-26. That would have put them down to go up at either another field goal or a touchdown would have iced the game.
That was a third down play. We were pretty far from the end zone, right? It was third down, pretty far. Dude, you should not be throwing back across your body, just like period in that situation, because a field goal puts you up 8 points, meaning they would have to drive down the entire field and get a 2-point conversion simply to tie the game. So slipping or not, I disagree. I thought that was a really foolish move either way. He wasn't open enough to warrant that. He would have had to have no one within 10 yards of him.
Yeah. I mean, they had the ball at the 27. It was 3rd and 13 at the 14. So, you just throw an incompletion there. You have a 40-yard field goal, ice the game. Bad decision by him. The miscommunication between him and Juergens earlier in the game was like, okay, I hope this doesn't become a trend. That seemed like it was on Juergens and not Wentz.
Oh, you said Wentz there.
Sorry, I'm looking at the comments. Our buddy Jack is in the comments saying that that last throw was horrible. It was Wentz-like. So
there were Wentz-like moments in this game. I think it's a great call there by Jack. There were Wentz-like moments, and that was one of them. And then the other pick was another one of them where it was third down and long, and it's like, dude, just like live to see another day. It was Wentz-like because Wentz, I think, of like force the issue. Like there's no reason to force the issue. And I thought both of those interceptions were forcing the issue. And the second one was like, there was such a benefit to the field goal, but I digress. I forget what I was going to say because that was such a great comment there, Jack.
A huge Freudian slip. I'm trying to follow 8 different things on these screens that I got.
Oh, on the fumble there.
Yes.
It was surprising to me because if you watch the right guard, who is huge.
I wanted to talk about this. Mekhi Becton.
He is massive. There's two guys that were new to me. And I said, oh my gosh, these guys are ginormous. Becton was one of them. And I don't know exactly. It felt like every play before they snapped the ball, he would do that thing where he's looking back at Hurts, bam, taps the hip of the center. They snapped the ball. So that's another reason why I was so confused. He snapped it because he looked like he was doing that on almost every single play, obviously. And he looked like he was looking back and was about to do it on that play. And then Juergens was like, Leroy Jenkins! Snap that sucker. Next thing you know, we don't have the ball anymore.
Yes. So, I mean, 6 minutes into the game, they already have 2 turnovers, and Green Bay has the ball back inside the red zone. Green Bay's first 2 possessions, they started inside of the red zone, or at least after those turnovers. 2 possessions inside the red zone, and they don't give up a touchdown on either one. It could have easily been 14-0. That game would have been out of hand. The Eagles and the fans would have been like, here we go again. This is the end of last year all over again. That's why I feel way better about the defense going into next week than I did going into the game, specifically for that first quarter, where they held them on 2 red zone possessions to just 2 field goals. And, if those are both touchdowns, that's 8 more points. We lose the game by 3.
I mean, I 100% agree. It's funny because it's 29-34 is the final score, yet I somehow come away being really excited about our defense. It's like one of those weird games, and especially because of that first quarter. But other moments where they stood their ground and held them to a field goal, like the offense screwed over the defense a number of times in this game. And like you said, if the defense lets up a touchdown in one of those spots, we're in a really tough spot really early on. It changes the whole game script of the offense. Whereas they only let up 2 field goals. And then specifically the Eagles, their third offensive drive. So their first 2 drives sucked, obviously, ended with the interception and then the fumble. And then their third drive, they just started off with a real quick pass to Dallas Goedert for like 3 yards. It felt very much like, okay, we're just going to do a really quick, easy play, just gain some yards, start feeling good about ourselves again. And then that drive ended up being magnificent and leading to a touchdown. And I'm not saying they wouldn't have done that if the Packers had scored a touchdown, but it would have been harder to just settle in. And it was 6 points. In total, you only ended up 6 points. No big deal. Get a touchdown, we got the lead. So defense really phenomenal job holding the ground there and keeping them to field goals. And a big part of that, by the way, on those drives, I don't want to get into personnel because maybe we should say it for the thumbs up, thumbs down, but we'll just keep it broad now. Some really good tackling, specifically against Josh Jacobs, who, by all accounts is a pretty tough guy to bring down, pretty big guy and a bit of a tank. So I was impressed with the tackling. Just in general, man. Last year, the tackling I thought sucked. Not a lot of big hit stick guys on the team. I feel like they're bringing some power with the tackles. They're driving guys back way more this year. It's small sample size, but last year it felt like we were always the guys going back on the tackles. We're laying the wood a little bit, and that's good to see.
Yeah, we're delivering the hit, not taking the hits, which is good to see. But yeah, real quick, before that drive that ended in the Saquon Barkley touchdown, which was gorgeous, by the way, the Eagles had -7 yards after 2 drives and 2 turnovers. Ooh. Yeah, stinky.
It's that slippery grass.
I do want to bring up a couple stats here that I feel are relevant. Hurts was magnificent when passing for short yardage. Passes under 15 yards, he was 18 of 22. Over 15 yards, he was 2 of 7, which included both touchdowns, but also both of his interceptions.
Yeah.
And the motion was very much palpable and noticeable. Yeah. So the Eagles in 2023 had the least amount of motion in the NFL at 35.1%. In this game, they ran motion on 48 of 73 plays for a percentage of 65.8.
Wow.
Now, with that motion, Hurts was 15 of 21 for 212 yards and his 2 touchdowns. On those plays without the motion, he was 5 of 13 for 66 yards and both of his interceptions.
Wow.
Now, take that with a grain of salt. We will see how this trend goes forward and how well the offense does when they're in motion as opposed to not. But early returns on week 1, they do really well when the motion is being brought, and I loved the schemes. You brought up a really good play when you were watching film that you're probably going to want to break down about, motion and bubble screens and second layer of the receivers. I liked what I saw.
Yeah, me too. It was fun watching the film because you saw them not just run good plays, but then build off of those plays, hence the bubble screen thing, so the bubble screen thing was like, that was probably in the second quarter. It was one of those deeper passes. Actually, I'm surprised that must have been like a 20-yard gain. But they had run the bubble screen pretty early on, which had me roll my eyes a little bit because if you remember last year, how many times they did the bubble screen and how many times Devontae Smith almost died when they would toss that ball out to him and he would get murdered. But they did a couple pretty good bubble screens early on. One to Dallas Goedert, one to I'm loosely calling bubble screen. One to Smith, and then the second quarter they did a play that was setting up like it was going to be a bubble screen. Shipley came in motion. That's another thing that's fun. We bring out Dotson and Shipley, and they didn't even do anything, but just the presence and the excitement of having those kind of gadgety guys. I know Dotson's not so much a gadgety guy. He's going to be in there a lot more, but I'm excited about Shipley. There's going to be a point in time where he has a play or two, and I'm excited for it. But in this play, he comes in motion, and he comes across the field, and they snap the ball, and then Devontae Smith goes up and starts to pretend like he's going to block for a bubble screen pass to Shipley. He does such a good job. He even almost starts to engage the block, and then he just goes. He just leaves the defender in the dust. Way too late. Defender recognized it. 2-3 yards. Smith is behind him. And then a beautiful touch pass by Hurts to get Smith for, like I said, it must have been close to like a 20-yard game. Maybe not quite that much. But it was such a great play design, and it was nice to see how they built up to it as well. I'm excited about this new coordinator. I really am. And all the motion just like is such a why not thing to me, because everything I've ever heard from some of the better quarterbacks in the league is that they, at minimum, just use motion to better understand what the defense is in and how they're going to respond. At minimum, just to get more intel. So why not? I'm happy they have a new offensive coordinator.
I think we all are. And 34 points, even on a slippery field, is a good start. I don't expect them to score 34 every week, but it's way better than the offense that they were showing at the end of the year last year. And to your point, yeah, if you go in motion, you can see whether they're playing man or zone at the bare minimum. And then you're also getting people off their spots where they need to communicate, figure out who's covering who. That's where mistakes happen. Clearly, they made some mistakes in coverage that led to deep plays. And yeah, I cannot wait to see what an actual good offensive coordinator can do with this amount of weaponry on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun to see.
Yeah.
Do you want to get to thumbs up, thumbs down? We're going to continue that segment this year.
Yeah, I had one other play I wanted to break down. So whatever
sure.
order you want. You want me to do that first?
Yeah, let's bring it on. You're on a roll here.
It's a play we're all familiar with, but man, looking at it with a deeper lens, it's so fun. The first touchdown pass to Saquon Barkley, and I feel like it really goes to show how much of a game of inches football can be, because that play was executed the way that I see it, like so perfectly, so well, and still it needed kind of like a perfect pass and a perfect catch. That wasn't easy. By the way, Saquon Barkley is absolutely incredible. He's amazing. But on that play, they use motion, right? So they have Dotson. They have everyone on the left side pre-snap. And they bring Dotson in motion from left to right. So Smith and A.J. Brown line up on the left side in the backfield of Saquon Barkley. Dotson goes in motion left to right, which starts to kind of pull the defense in that right side direction just a little bit. Like even if just a little bit starts to bring them that way. And then they snap the ball, and it's not like a true play action, but Saquon Barkley sprints across in front of Hurts, and he starts going into that wheel route. But it almost looks like linebackers have to just kind of think, is that a run? No, it's not. So it kind of immediately sets between the motion and Saquon Barkley coming across fast like that. The linebacker that's supposed to cover Barkley is already now not taking a great route, certainly not for the wheel route. So he would want to be going directly back to the corner, and he's already kind of stepped in and is taking more of a direct route to Barkley, which is just going to make him fried toast. So then in the meantime, you have Smith and A.J. Brown, who garner a ton of attention because they're very great offensive weapons. They both run post routes towards the center of the field in the middle of the end zone, bringing the safeties and basically everyone else on the defense to the right side in the direction or right side of the field. There's one safety, Xavier McKinney, who is a good football player, by the way. Hate him because he was with the Giants forever, and he's just like easy to hate. But he picked up on Barkley at the last second. I think it was a second too late that he just couldn't get there in time. But it also helped that those post routes were coming across. So the receivers were coming across the field and the cornerbacks were. So he couldn't take a really good route to Barkley because there was too much traffic. An absolute dime by Hurts right into the breadbasket of Barkley, who makes a great catch. How many running backs are making that catch? I don't know. That's not an easy catch. And for the first touchdown of the game, I just felt like everybody had to do their job well and like perfectly, and they did. And even then, you needed a perfect pass and a perfect catch. Just phenomenal execution and phenomenal play design, dude. Beautiful. And by the way, the Packers like ran some kind of blitz on that play with Walker. Becton picks it up. The boys blocked too. Like everybody did so well. The execution was phenomenal on that play. It was really, really beautiful. Really well done.
I don't have the exact number on this, but to the blitz point, we were all saying how Jalen Hurts did not do well under the blitz last year. I believe he was 5 of 9 for that touchdown while being blitzed. So that, again, a small sample size, but good to see at least in one game, and definitely want to follow that going forward. So, Dan, love the breakdowns. I know how much you love watching the All-22.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so cool seeing it from that other angle, the one behind the players, like the Madden view, if you will, because that's a view you rarely get unless they're actually showing replays, and you can pick out your own plays. And watching film's a lot of fun.
That view gives you such great point of view for offensive and defensive line play.
Yes,
it really shows all the movement and kind of gives you a little bit better point of view of what they're looking at too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, you want to get into thumbs up, thumbs down real quick?
Yeah. Do you want to start with the negative so we'll end with the positive?
Yeah, let's do that. I like that.
Fair enough.
Yep. You first.
Thumbs down. I don't have anything like too fancy to say. Maybe it'll just kind of speak for itself. But my thumbs down is Avonte Maddox.
Okay.
Just looks slow out there. Looks like he's a step behind. Obviously, he's playing on most plays a position that's really, really hard at that, especially that slot corner position. But I feel like we kind of saw this when he came back last year, that he looked, and he was recovering from an injury, I think last year. He looked a step behind. He looked slow. And I guess I was kind of hopeful that in the offseason, he'd get it back a little bit, get a little more healthy. And I think the deal with him is that they kind of like, quote unquote, let him walk. It kind of felt like a go see if you can get any offers kind of thing. And if not, we'll bring you back, I think is kind of how it went down. And it felt like a lot of the times when we were getting beat, it was Avonte Maddox trailing. And then he had a big penalty late in the game. Yeah, thumbs down, Avonte Maddox. I don't know if it'll be a situation where hope he can figure out, or hey, there's some other young talent behind him. And then obviously Rodgers was hurt for this last game. So if Rodgers gets healthy, what do they do with Rodgers and Quinyon Mitchell? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how long he stays around. He might have a short leash, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they do have some depth at the defensive back position. CJGJ had some bright spots, but then also got lost in coverage and let Jaden Reed go for that 40-yard touchdown, or I guess that was the long one, right? The 70-yard touchdown. That was CJGJ's fault. My thumbs down is going to Bryce Huff.
That's fair.
Who did absolutely nothing. So there were 67 snaps on the defensive side of the ball, and he only played 30. To put that in perspective, 35-year-old Brandon Graham played 32.
What's up with that? Why? Is that just performance-based, you think?
Well, in doing some reading, Vic Fangio had been saying through the offseason, OTAs, and training camp that Bryce Huff is not an every-down player. Now, he recorded 10 sacks for the Jets last year, but he did not play the majority, or as compared to other players, the majority of snaps. There were guys on the defensive line, edge rusher position, who played more snaps than him. Now, whether that's conditioning or his size, I'm not sure, but he had one tackle and barely saw anything out of him. I know he's not Hassan Reddick, and we're going to compare him to Hassan Reddick. He's getting $2 million more over the next 3 years than they were paying Hassan Reddick. Hassan was getting 15 a year. Huff's getting 17 a year. But they let Reddick go because he was asking for elite money.
Still is, by the way. Didn't play yesterday.
Yeah. He did not play, and he's holding out. So, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I think that's a solid choice. I hope that changes. We'll see. I don't know as much about Bryce Huff, to be honest with you, but if you weren't willing to pay Reddick, obviously Reddick is taking the contract thing pretty seriously. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. So, all right, you want to go thumbs up?
Let's do it.
All right. You want to go first, or should I?
You can go. You can go first this time. All right, I guess again.
All right. I'm not going to take the obvious one. You know what? I'm going to go Mekhi Becton.
Okay.
I'm going to go Mekhi Becton because
I like that.
I was enthralled with how good of a this dude's 6'7", 360, and he's playing guard. Okay, he was drafted as a tackle at 11th overall, I believe, by the Jets. And I mean, we picked him up in free agency. It's just, he took Isaiah McDuffie and threw him 4 yards in the air, the linebacker.
I was amazed every time I just saw him in his stance. I was like, geez, even that's got to be hard. Like, how are you even doing that alone?
Yeah. It was beautiful to see. So Mekhi Becton, thank you. Looking forward to what you can do on this already good offensive line. And if we can get that guy off of free agency and be a staple, then thank you, Howie.
Stoutland University.
Stoutland U, baby. Reclamation project.
So I just, before I do my thumbs up, the other massive guy, is there another guy? Can you guess who it is? Take a guess who the other guy saw. I was like, oh my gosh, that guy is huge, especially for their position. Huge. So obviously he's not as big as Becton, but for his position.
Is it Johnny Wilson?
Johnny Wilson, dude.
I knew it.
He's ginormous. And I think it was actually the first time I saw him, maybe it was the first play he was out there, was I think that first quarter or whatever it was, bubble screen to Smith. And then I saw the play, and then I saw that he was the blocker out there. And I suddenly felt a lot better about our bubble screen. That guy is 6'6", 228. That is not a wide receiver. That's a tight end and wide receiver, dude.
Yeah, he's huge. I was like, who the hell is that guy? Oh, it's Johnny Wilson.
I love that his name makes it like even more fun for some reason to me.
Yeah. And I can see why they I can
good old Johnny Wilson.
I can see why they kept him on the roster as the fifth wide receiver.
He is ginormous. Johnny Ginormous Wilson. But my thumbs up player, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about the obvious one together because we have to say something about him. But I'm going to go Devontae Smith, man.
Okay.
He was Mr. Reliable. He feels like he's always Mr. Reliable. He was definitely Mr. Reliable in this game. It feels like A.J. Brown can be the big, like, oh, man, we need a really big moment, like a really big touchdown or like a really big play to get the juices flowing again. But it feels like those moments where it's like, oh man, we just need a first down. We need a couple first downs. We need just to lock this thing up. We need someone reliable. It feels like Smith is the guy. And I tell you what, every time he takes a hit, it feels like it's a big hit. It seems like he does a pretty good job at like last second evading so that it's not as bad. It does make me nervous because he is a smaller guy out there. He made some really nice catches and some really big plays in moments where we needed it most. And then when we really needed another first down at the end of the game, of course, they do a quick slant route to him there. He's the guy in those kind of moments, I feel like. I think it was a 3rd and 8 ball they had, and Hurts threw it just a touch too late and a little bit off. And man, I thought Smith was going to die. He caught that ball in between 2 defenders. He does have a good way of catching the ball and kind of getting his body out of the way, but just seems to continue to be Mr. Reliable. And there's probably a lot of teams where he could be closer to the number 1 wide receiver. And that just doesn't ever seem to like get to him or bother him here. He seems to always kind of relish whatever opportunities he has had and continues to have here. He's easy to like kind of guy, and he's a heck of a football player. Had a great game.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Devontae ends up getting more receiving yards than AJ this year, just because AJ always requires so much attention on the outside. And they have, even though he didn't show up in this game, they have Jahan Dotson as a 3rd weapon on the outside. There's a lot of people that you need to keep an eye on in the wide receiver room when you're going against the Eagles. And there's going to be, and obviously you have to keep an eye on Saquon too. I love what is shown from them early on in this offense, and I can't wait to see what week 2 has when they go up against the Falcons. That being said, Dan, unfortunately, I have to cut it short soon. Gotta go out and take care of some things real quick. Do you want to get into the? We'll have a more extended episode next week. Do you want to get into the preview of the Falcons, or is there anything else from the Green Bay game you wanted to get to?
I think I'm a little nervous because we're in the middle of the baseball game, and for some reason Kennedy just came in to pinch hit for Schwarber.
Oh, really?
So that's a little. I don't know, Jack, if you're still here, if you can a live update for us here. That's making me a little freaking nervous. Yeah, it happened in like the fourth inning, so that's a little weird. But yeah, just Saquon Barkley, dude. What were your thoughts of Saquon?
I've seen this guy play in person probably 15 games when he was in college. He was the most electric running back I've ever seen play. And that was back when he wasn't playing against as good of competition, but he had a good offensive line, something he never had in New York. He's never had a conglomerate of weapons that he now has alongside him. He could break records this year if he stays healthy. I'm that bullish on Saquon Barkley being a part of this offense.
He displayed a lot of different things, right? We already talked about the really nice catch that he made. He had a couple of plays too where he had the infamous jump cut, which it's an aggressive cut, but he still just stays so fast in his run despite cutting. It really is an impressive jump cut that he has. One was for his second touchdown of the game, and the other for that big, I don't know how many yards it was, like 40 yards or something like that. Maybe not quite that much. And then the other thing is just like the power and strength that he has. His last touchdown of the game, he got to about the 1.5 yard line, and he was turned backwards. He backpedaled his way into the end zone. Are you kidding me, dude? He's got 2 defenders on him. He is backpedaling his way into the end zone. I mean, that's unbelievable strength, man. And then, always in the past with the tush push, I always thought, yeah, the push is kind of helpful, but it really doesn't seem like that's the reason they get it. It seems a lot more like up front and hurts. Well, they had a tush push where it felt very much like it was the push that got them the yard that they needed with Saquon back there. And I think the other guy was Goddard. He is so strong. I know everyone talks about it, but I couldn't believe that last touchdown where he just kind of backpedaled his way into the end zone. It's unbelievable. Just an easy like guy, man. Great guy. Great football player. That's my
They call him Saquads for a reason.
Saquads, nice. Solid. Yeah.
I can't wait. This is going to be a fun team. And we didn't even get to Zach Bond. I mean,
yeah. Well, you made me a little nervous actually, because you made a good point last week when we were previewing that in the beginning, Morrow was racking up tackles, and we were like, "Oh, this guy's all over the place, and he's making a lot of tackles." And then we quickly discovered that he couldn't cover anything, and he got fooled for play action all the time. So you made me nervous to because you're right. You're making me nervous to like jump into the Zach Bond thing, but obviously he had a great first game, and I hope he doesn't turn into that Nicholas Morrow type player.
He played all 67 snaps.
Wow.
He had 15 tackles in this game. In prior seasons, his season-long high total was 30 tackles. He's also had one interception in his entire career, one sack in his entire career prior to this week, and he had 2. So, he had 2 sacks prior to this season. He had 2 in the first game. Love what we're seeing out of that. I'm really excited, man. I feel even though there are some things they have to clean up, I attribute it to being the first game of the season. There was sloppy play all over the NFL. They had to go 10 hours to a foreign country on a crap field. Yeah. I won't even really get in on the field. All I know is I know the guy who installs the field at the link, and the field they play on there is way better than anything they're playing on in a foreign soccer country's pitch.
You find anything interesting about that or not? I know you got to get going.
They play on ryegrass down there, which is a grass that grows very quickly, and it's a good turf for soccer, but it doesn't have a strong root system. So when you have 300-pound men who are giving their massive effort with their legs to push and drive, it just gives out, which is what you saw. And running backs, trying to make a quick cut. Now, soccer players do that, but they're also 180 pounds, and they're very swift on their feet. They're not like Saquon Barkley, where they're trying to they don't have like 240-pound frame, and they're trying to turn on a dime.
Yeah.
So you see that a lot on the international soccer games that they go play, because the fields just aren't equipped or designed to deal with the play that NFL requires.
Yeah.
So, it was a one-off. It is what it is. The NFL wants to make their money, and I don't know if they got good reviews about it, but it is what it is. And all I'm saying is I'm looking forward to seeing what the defensive line can do against the Falcons, because the Packers have a really good offensive line, and Kirk Cousins was running for his life on Sunday against TJ Watt. So I think that's something we have to look for.
Falcons O-line is trash, really.
Yeah, not good.
Draft the greatest running back in the draft, and it'll work out. So stupid. So freaking stupid. Get Bijan Robinson, put him behind a bunch of trash cans. See what happens.
That's what the Giants did with Saquon, pretty much.
That's what the Steelers did with Najee Harris several years
True.
back.
You make a good
I don't know why teams do this, because it's not exciting. It's not exciting to like draft the lineman first, but it's worth it, guys.
And that's what the Eagles have done time in and time out over the last few years, and you've seen it pay off. They are a perennial powerhouse, and it starts in the trenches. Thank you, Howie Roseman. Appreciate you. So, Dan, you got anything else on Eagles Green Bay? Anything on next week? I'm sorry I had to cut it a little bit short.
Yeah, nothing too big. 2 out of 3 for our picks there last week. That's a fun idea. We'll have to tweet out some more when it gets closer to game time.
Yes, if you are following or watching us on Twitter, Dan and I will be putting out our picks and a couple of betting plays that we like, either on Fridays of game week or Thursday or Mondays when they play in prime time. So we'll keep track of our stats throughout the year. We'll see who has the best record or closest over-under overall type deal. I think it's a fun little thing. We can go back and forth with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about all I got. Just happy and excited about some of the young talent too. Some of the, especially Quinyon Mitchell. He had some really nice plays. He had a great breakup with Christian Watson, who they went to the end zone early on, and he was right there step for step. There's some young talent that's pretty exciting. Okay, the hit. I know he had great moments and also like not great moments, but Nakobe Dean sniffing out that little like screenplay and. Oh man, that was satisfying. Oh my gosh!
Oh, yes. We were talking about different plays.
Different plays, yeah. The one where he sniffed out the screen and he dismantled the running back. I can't remember if that was Jacobs or Wilson, but I think it was Wilson. Hardest hit of the game.
He ran over him, and he almost had a pick six, but then he realized he's a linebacker.
Dude, oh my gosh, that should have very easily been a pick six. Yeah, he's gotta catch that ball. He hit the jugs machine this week a time or two, maybe.
Yeah. So, all in all, we got a win in a situation that was not the best when it comes to 2 turnovers in the first 5 minutes, and a long distance travel game, bad field. Now those 2 that I just talked about, both teams had to deal with it. But this very easily could have been a loss, and I don't want to put it in the same way that we did last year. It's like a win is a win, because there were a lot more positives that we can take out of this game, and it felt like they should have won this game. There's just a chance that they could have lost, but didn't. They made good plays when they needed to. The defense stepped up in dire situations, and yeah, I'm not overreacting to either, but I'm definitely feeling pretty positive coming out of week 1.
Yeah. Hurts, from a talent standpoint, was really good. He had some really incredible plays, really good throws. The quarterback, the run play where he was like a yard or 2 short of the first down, and he just trucked through and got 2 extra yards to get the first down, was insane. Obviously, it was Barkley-esque.
Yes.
But I tell you what, the decision making and the kind of like that aspect of the game, really bad. Hopefully we can clean that up a little bit and have less errors, more or less, in total, the whole team. But
yeah, I mean, he hasn't thrown a pass against live play since January, so we'll clean up the decision making. I have faith in this team now that Sirianni's not calling the offense. I love what we're seeing from the coordinators. Way better than last year, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So, all right, Dan, thank you. Do you have any words of wisdom for the people on the way out?
I don't have anything this week, Colin.
No, that's fine.
I don't have anything this week. It was a busy weekend, but I'll come packing next week.
Hey, I just like throwing it out there. It's not a requirement.
No.
I just know you have some wise words when it comes to this whole life thing we all do.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I usually just think about it for 2 seconds and see what comes out the noggin, but we'll have one next week. We'll get rested, rejuvenated. Hopefully we'll get to talk about another Eagles win, and I'll drop some wisdom at the end of it.
I hope so. Next week we got a Monday night home opener, so we'll do a day after recap on Tuesday, which will be fun. And
Yes,
your boy
sir.
will be in attendance, so I'll try to glean as much as I can from that. Nick Foles' retirement ceremony, gonna be fun.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good call. Didn't know that. Good call.
Yep, going to be a huge night. So, all right, Dan, thank you. Everybody who's listened, watching, streamed, appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like and subscribe. I know everybody always likes to say that. Give us a thumbs up. It's been a pleasure. This has been episode 48 of the DelValley Sports Pod, and we will talk to you next week.
Later. Go Birds.
Go Birds.